The resurrection of Jesus isn't just a hopeful idea, it is one of the best attested events of the ancient world. The historical case for the resurrection is built on a solid foundation of facts that even many secular scholars acknowledge. There are at least 5 widely agreed upon points among both Christian and non-Christian historians. 1. Jesus was crucified and died under Pontius Pilate. 2. He was buried in a tomb, most likely belonging to Joseph of Arimathea. 3 days later, the tomb was found empty. 4. Numerous individuals and groups claim to have seen Jesus alive afterward. 5. These witnesses were so convinced that they were willing to suffer and die for that belief. These are not just theological claims, they're historical observations. For example, the empty tomb is recognized by scholars like Gary Habermas and William Lane Craig as a historical fact, in part because it was discovered by women. In the cultural context of first-century Judea, women's testimony was not considered reliable in legal matters. So if someone were inventing a resurrection story, they certainly wouldn't have chosen women as the first witnesses. That detail has the ring of authenticity. Then there's the transformation of the disciples. These were people who had fled in fear when Jesus was arrested. Peter denied him, Thomas doubted him, but something changed them. Within weeks, they were boldly preaching in Jerusalem, the same city where Jesus was publicly executed, declaring that he had risen from the dead. And this wasn't a small spiritual metaphor. They claimed to have physically seen, spoken with, and even touched the risen Christ. Even more striking is the conversion of skeptics and enemies. James, Jesus' own brother, had doubted him during his ministry. Yet after the resurrection, James became a leader in the early church and was eventually martyred for his faith. Paul, a Pharisee and fierce persecutor of Christians, claimed that the risen Jesus appeared to him, and that encounter changed everything. He went from trying to destroy the church to becoming one of its most influential apostles. The resurrection wasn't a vague event witnessed in secret. Paul, writing in 1 Corinthians 15, just 25 years after the crucifixion, listed many people who had seen the risen Jesus, including more than 500 people at once. He even invited readers to verify this, saying, most of whom are still alive. In other words, go ask them. That's not how legends are written. That's how eyewitness testimony works. Some suggest the disciples hallucinated the resurrection, but hallucinations are private, individual experiences. They can't explain group appearances, physical interactions, or the empty tomb. Others claim Jesus didn't really die, that he just fainted, but Roman executioners were experts. They knew how to kill, and even if Jesus had somehow survived the cross, he wouldn't have emerged from the tomb walking around healthy and triumphant. He would have needed immediate medical attention, not worship. Ultimately, the simplest and most consistent explanation of the evidence is that Jesus truly rose from the dead. That event validates everything he said about himself. He wasn't just a teacher or a prophet. He was and is the Son of God. The resurrection confirms his identity, affirms his authority, and guarantees the hope he offers to all who trust in him. In the next and final part, we'll look at what all of this means for us today and why the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus still change lives around the world.